Welcome to the hangar house. In the last video, I told you guys some of the reasons that we're looking at moving from the 70 or so acres that we've been at in California. And I told you guys that there was a very unique place coming into the mix. Well, this right here is it. In this video, I want to give you guys a tour of this place because it is such a cool little place. It is an airplane hangar and an 800 square foot home right there, which is perfect. It's a perfect combination of home plus a lot of utility. So I'm gonna get started by showing you guys the part that I think all of you guys wanna see first, and that's gonna be the actual hangar. This is it, this is the hangar right here. So let me guys give you a little walkthrough on this place. There we go, we got a plane taking off. I'm gonna have to put a hat on. It is bright out here right now. So let's get you a general layout here. So we have the one hangar door over here. We have another hangar door right here. These just slide side to side. I'll show you guys a little bit more on those doors in a minute here. This is the structure, and yeah, we are moving in right now. There's some stuff left from the previous owners. So we're like in the middle of it right now, and I don't have any of my stuff back from the shop in California. We got to move all of that about 1,000 miles, so that's gonna be fun. Anyway, this is the actual house structure right here. This is a little 840 square foot apartment. There is a loft up there that we can use for storage and we can walk on. And then all of this right here is just open. I'd have to go back and look at the exact square feet, but it's about 2,000 square feet is what I believe it is, maybe a little bit more of actual shop space. This is a pole barn construction, so this is all wood, and you can see that the walls themselves are not insulated, but the ceiling is insulated. Now, what's really cool about this place is that there is a door on this side. This is a manual garage door here. And then over here on this side, there is an electronic door. So this actually just cool little weird space right in here to be able to store stuff, put parts, do kind of whatever. And one thing that I did the other day is I went and got a whole bunch of blue painter's tape because I'm gonna have to start putting this tape on the ground and start figuring out exactly how I'm gonna fit a shop in here. Because even a large space like this is gonna fill up really fast once I get a rig in here to, work on and build, and then, fabrication corner, a woodworking corner. It's gonna fill up fast. Then we kind of have a little nook over here. The previous owners used this as like a little bar or lounge area. That's all gonna be used for shop space. Pretty much everything in here is gonna get used for shop space. And this guy right here, well, for some of you guys that have been following the channel or on our newsletter, you know that we're gonna be giving away this bike because the Toyota's taken a little while and we're gonna be in the middle of a move. But that right there is a 2025 Husqvarna 501S. This is a plated dirt bike right here. We got tags on it. We got an Enduro Engineering skid plate. We got some double take mirrors. We got our first oil change for it. There's a few more accessories that we have. And we got all of that from All Terrain Motorsports. They gave us a deal on this because they know that we're supporting Tread Lightly and the Blue Ribbon Coalition through the giveaway of this bike. We're just waiting on some of our inventory to come in, and then we're gonna be giving this bike away as we're moving. And I already rode this thing down the road and took it out to the backyard and did some donuts in it. It's gonna be really hard to give this bike away because, man, this thing is fun. It is really fun. And my 2004 KTM right now is, it has seen better days. So one of the reasons that it was really tough to find a place that would work for me is the ceiling height. So this right here, I'd imagine this is almost 20 feet of ceiling height before you hit the rafters. So when I bring big rigs in, like our F350, the camper that we gave away, we're gonna be bringing in kind of these taller campers that get upwards of 12 feet if they're lifted and on big tires and all that. And I needed a space where I could get on top and work on solar and roof racks and all that. And a lot of these places did not have big garage doors. But this right here has plenty tall garage doors to be able to bring something in. Usually in pole barn structures, it's really hard to find stuff that is really tall. When you get into steel buildings with, you know, actual steel trusses and all that, those are really tall because they don't need rafters. And this place was just tall enough to do what I needed to do. Now it did come with some basic shelving. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be keeping this because, like I said, I gotta lay everything out and see where I want to have storage, where I wanna have toolboxes and all that. And plus, you know, none of this is red-headed into the concrete. This is 2x4s. You know, it's not gonna hold that much weight on this. We have a little workbench area that, it's a little rough. May keep it, may not. One really nice thing is that most shops that I've been looking at, they don't have any garage sinks. So this right here is actually a nice deep garage sink, so I can, you know, wash my hands, I can wash off some parts. Really nice to have a garage sink in a building like this. And the reason why most of these places don't have a sink in the shop is because they usually don't have a septic tank, you know, for the shop. The house is separate, has its own septic tank. So, you know, it was really nice that this is combined because now we have the water in the shop. Now let's go upstairs and we can check out this area. I will say that these stairs are pretty steep. It's kind of more of a ladder than it is stairs. And then this is what we have up here. So all this, you know, you can stand and walk on it. It's not just insulation up here or anything like that. Now, the previous owners, the original ones that built this place, they actually had a pool table up here and kind of made it a little party area. And I kind of got a hint of that when I saw this board right here. It's like they put drinks or something here, and then you're able to sit up here and look down at the shop and all of your projects. And I'm looking at this area and I'm not quite sure what to do with it other than storage. Now, the thing is with storage in an area like this is that I really don't know what this can hold. So I gotta be really conservative with how much weight that I put up here because I don't wanna crush the house part of this place. Can't be putting axles up here, can't be putting, you know, stuff like that. This is gonna be kind of lightweight, like tub storage and stuff like that. Plus there's also stuff on the ground here. So that right there is just a random box left by the previous owner. And then this right here is ventilation. So we have the bathroom vent right there, we got the shower vent right there, and then the dryer vent right there. And all of it just runs sideways right out of the building. And then this right here is the actual HVAC system. They spray foam insulated this, which is really nice because it helps to keep everything cool. But this is probably one of the coolest things, and I didn't really realize how cool it was until I understood how it works. But this right here is a geothermal heating and cooling system. So essentially what this is that it's a glycol loop. I believe that they have glycol in right here. So one of these is in, one of these is out. They say, yep, water in, water out right there. Now what this does is it actually pumps a loop of water down and outside the building. In these geothermal systems, there's kind of two types, but what they do is they run the water down underneath the ground. And you can either have a vertical system or a horizontal system. So the horizontal system is probably like 2 to 3 feet underground, and they bury those pipes. And the vertical systems, they go straight up and down. And what it does is it's using a heat exchanger, essentially, to heat and cool this place. So the constant temperature of the ground, you know, several feet underground is, you know, it's constant. And it's a very efficient way of heating and cooling a home. So I'm very curious to see what the electric bill is gonna be if I actually run this thing quite a bit. I have been running this thing some, and I will say that it felt like AC. It felt really cold. So I think that I'm gonna be really happy with the system. I'll kind of give you guys some updates if anything goes wrong with it, but so far it's been working really well. But yeah, there is a ton of storage up here, and because there's so much room, I'm gonna have to be really careful with how much weight I actually put up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this door up. So I think this is probably an 8-foot door. Nothing crazy here, but it still allows me to get stuff in and out across the side of the building. The previous owner, they actually just parked their car in there, but I'm gonna be parking my vehicles outside, and I'll share a little bit of the plans for the rest of the property here in a minute. But having that on the side is really nice, and the fact that there's 2 of them is even cooler. Now, the reason why this door is so nice is because of kind of what my plans are, for this property as far as the land goes out here. We are sitting on 1.7 acres. So property line is right there, goes to right there, and there, and back here. So it's not a ton of land. 1.7 acres is kind of just enough though for what I'm looking for as far as just, being able to park stuff, store stuff, have trailers, have trucks, all that type of stuff. So the HOA here, you have a couple of reasons for an HOA, right, in any place. In a lot of, higher end neighborhoods, it's to protect property value, and those are like the most restrictive. You get into suburbia and they will tell you, you can't have a little bit of your tire on the grass, you can't have this, that, the other thing. I did not want to get a place with an HOA and no covenants on the land. Now, I looked at this place in January and I was like, nope, it's got an HOA, not gonna do it. And we continued looking for a place for several months, and I had a lot of criteria for what I was looking for. I needed to be close to town. I needed to be able to have, the room to be able to do my builds and my business. Needed to have the basic home. Needed to be close enough to, the big resources of like a bigger city, as well as, just the basic resources every day of a small town. You guys can watch my last video about why we ended up moving, but we were an hour and 15 minutes from the grocery store, from parts stores, from all of that. And now I'm about 7 minutes to be able to get basic resources like groceries and get to a parts store. There's a rec center nearby, so I can actually swim and go and do something in the morning before I start work. But anyway, back to the HOA stuff. So you have the HOA for that reason. But then you also have an HOA when you are on really remote properties as well, because those are usually really low fees, like $15 a month, something like that. And those HOAs are basically there not to enforce covenants or do anything like that. They are there literally just to maintain the roads so you can, get to your property, doing snow plowing and grading and stuff like that. Now, with this particular property here, the HOA fee is quite a bit more. It is like $65 a month. Now, the reason this place has an HOA is because it is a private airport. This place was, supposed to be a lot bigger 30 years ago. They have all these plots that were for sale, and this place never took off. There's like, they had 4 phases of development for this private airport, and it didn't make it out of phase 1. So you have to maintain the runway, you got to maintain the roads. That is what this HOA is primarily, for. They have a couple of restrictions, like I can't have chickens, which is a bummer. But before I jumped into a situation where I'm in an HOA, I went and talked to the HOA president and said, hey, there's only 10 homes out here, so it's not a big place. And I said, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to use the property for. How can I do that in a way where it isn't disruptive for you guys? And, I got my answers, and I shouldn't have any issues here. We were able to, I told him exactly what I was looking to do. So the reason why this door is really nice is because, I want to keep the property looking nice. Pretty much everyone here, it's a place where people have their tractors outside, they have their vehicles, their trailers and stuff outside. But I still want the property to overall, look good, look clean. Maybe you can see if we zoom in, tractors and stuff over there. We have leach field right here for the septic system. And what we're gonna do is I wanna put a fence starting right here, have it go across over here, and then kind of have L-shaped a little bit right there. And this is where I'd like to go ahead and park trailers and vehicles and all that, so that way the shop house, the shouse, hangar house, shop house, whatever you want to call this place, it'll block it from the view of the neighbors over here, and then it'll block it from these neighbors. And then, if anyone ever buys these lots over here, it'll also block it from them. So the other thing that I'd like to do over here, you can see I've already been breaking this place in, is that this would be the perfect spot for 2 shipping containers, just right there in the corner of the L. And if I do that, then it'll completely block the view of the shipping containers from anyone that is, peeking in. Because that shop right there is gonna fill up really fast. I know it's gonna fill up fast. It looks big, but it'll fill up really quick. So generally, they don't allow for shipping containers, but I talked with the HOA owner and said, hey, it's how do I do the things that I want to do here? And these are the conversations that we had before we got into this place. So if I build this fence and then put 2 shipping containers over here, we should be good to go because everything is out of view and keeps the property looking nice. And that's really what everyone cares about here. And even though other properties have stuff outside, I may have more stuff, but it'll look better from the outside. So that's kind of how this HOA works. And as far as this land goes, the lady that was here before me, she made a point to, you can see her tracks here. She went around and did not want any brush on this land. Now, you can see that there's plenty of brush over there, and neighboring property over here has, has grass and stuff. So you can grow grass and put in some vegetation in here. But let me show you what's particularly cool about this place. So this right here is our irrigation. So this property has 2 shares of water. And being that it's only 1.7 acres, you can basically have as much water as you need for this, under 2 acres. This right here, you can see they never hooked up to it, but this right here costs about $100 a year, I think is the fee for all this water. And this isn't drinking water or anything, this is purely irrigation water. But if I wanted to go ahead and put in a bunch of grass, if I wanted to put in trees and all this stuff, you can make this kind of barren landscape actually, green and, have some cool landscaping. The neighbor is putting in a pond right there and, have all those options back here. Now I do have one upgrade that I would consider doing while I'm here. I'm not really planning on living here super long. I'm looking at probably a 3 to 5 year place, potentially more than that. It just kind of depends on a few things. I'd love to have more land and, kind of build my own place and do all that. But, I'm working up towards that. This place was fairly inexpensive compared to everything else that I looked at. This place was actually pretty cheap. The monthly payment that I'm gonna have on this place is actually pretty close to what my first apartment was in Encinitas, California. And that's nice. It's cheap, keeps my overhead low, like that. But this is the backside of the shop here. And what I'm thinking about doing, what I could do, is that I could go ahead and pour a slab that comes out here and go ahead and add on to this pole barn. I don't need to go nearly as high as this. Let's say I go ahead and do, 10-foot walls, 12-foot walls, maybe even 14-foot walls. And I could go ahead and have, a lower roof that comes back here. And that could be where I really go ahead and set up a woodworking area and fabrication area and really be able to have kind of workshop in here while I maintain the inside here for a lot of the mechanical work and having the vehicles and all that stuff. So this would kind of be, where the project actually sits. And then we could go ahead and build out a big door in here or something so you could just walk back into more shop space. If I wanted to add on another 30 feet back there by, I think this is 50 feet wide. I could do that for $70,000, $80,000 with concrete and, the basic shell of these pole barns. So that'd be another good way to kind of expand onto this place. But I forgot that the whole reason I was talking about this door is because if we do have that fence there and we do have some vehicles there, then I could go ahead and have a tractor or something there where I can move parts, from here to there and, drive stuff in and out. So that's nice. It's really nice to have 3 doors here. So we do have one con, and that would be that there's only one 220 volt outlet in this place. So that's it right there in this little corner. And I think this is kind of going to be my mechanics corner. This is where I'm going to put toolboxes and a lot of kind of automotive stuff in this little cutout here. But I need to add some 220 plugs. It really depends on where I end up putting welding stations. And I'm gonna have a table saw that's probably gonna be 220 and stuff like that. So we'll probably wanna have some more 220 volt outlets in here. And that's really the only downside right now is that I don't have as much power as I would like. This whole place is on a 200 amp breaker. So I'm not gonna be running a ton of stuff at the same time where, I need 400 amps or something like that. If I needed to upgrade, I could, but 200 amps should be enough for this shop because I'm not gonna be running a welder and the 220 table saw at the same time. So we should be able to get away with what we got here. And the last thing I wanted to show you guys is the doors themselves. So man, this GoPro really doesn't do well with light, but let me show you how these doors work. So these hangar doors run along this track here, and then they're hung on that tract up there. Now all we gotta do is we just clip these in to make sure they don't move too much. But then all you gotta do is start pulling these out. You just start pulling. And wait for it. All right, so all you gotta do is come in here, pull these in tight, and then you turn these. And you just go along this entire thing like this. And there you go, this entire thing is shut. So this is just steel here. And you can see they just welded on this side, left this open, I'm guessing to let it flex a little bit. But this is all pretty heavy duty here. And what I really like about this hangar door setup is that this stuff is transparent. So there's a little bit of a tint on it, but what it does is that it brings a ton of light into the shop without having to have the lights on. We don't have a ton of lights in here. I'm probably gonna wanna add some lights, especially because the GoPro does not do well in low light situations. I might actually have to switch from using GoPros to film this stuff, go to the DJI, their little action camera, because the low light ability on these cameras, these GoPros, is just really terrible. But that right there is what I like. And I just think it's such a cool look. There we go, look at that. One of the things that I really disliked about the place that I was at is that that shop had no windows, had no light coming into it naturally. And during the winter when it was cold, you know, you'd have to keep those doors shut and keep the wood burning furnace going. And you couldn't tell if it was 3 p.m. or if it was already 9 p.m. when you were working. With this, you're gonna have light that comes out just easily. So that's about it for the shop and the property around it. Now it's time to go ahead and take a look at the house. But the last thing that I'm gonna say here is that in the upcoming videos, we're gonna have to move a lot of stuff from California out here to Colorado. And I'm gonna have to do a lot of planning on how to fill this space. So it is gonna take some time just sitting here drawing, looking at it, putting blue tape on the ground, seeing where I want my tables and where I want my toolboxes and everything else. And you know, we just have random stuff around here right now. But anyway, let's go take a look at the inside of this place. All right, welcome to our humble home. Midge, Midge. Hey. All right, so this is the 840 square foot apartment. Let's open up some blinds and show this place off. So this is kind of back to being 18, moving into a dorm room type of situation. We got an outdoor mat. We just picked this table up on Facebook Marketplace. This right here is I'd call this the dining room area. And it's amazing how much they were able to fit in such a small space. But this is a nice little dining room, and then come over here to the kitchen. This is all real simple, and this is exactly what I wanted out of a place. I wanted a place that I could work. I wanted a place that, you know, was really focused on shop, but then still had all the basic necessities. So, you know, got your cabinets, got your microwave, got your oven, sink, dishwasher. Haven't had a dishwasher in like 3 years, so that's gonna be nice and new. Very basic kitchen. There's really not too much to say about it. I like that the fridge is actually pretty old, but it still has an ice maker and stuff. These old fridges always seem to work a little bit better than the new ones with screens and all these fancy things that you don't need. Like, it's a fridge. Why do you need a screen from here to here? Just doesn't make any sense. And then let's go ahead and go into the living room. So first thing I'm gonna note is, well, we picked up a piece of wall art on Facebook Marketplace. My fiance does not know about this yet. So I think I'm gonna have to film the reaction. I told her that, I was getting some wall art. She asked me what it was. I said, it's, you know, just kind of nature, some animals, you know, laying down. It's a very beautiful nature-y picture. You know what? 30 bucks was worth it, even if it comes down. That right there is worth it. So we did some basic wall art that you would do, like you're moving into a dorm room or something. Got that off Facebook Marketplace for 50 bucks. Got the flag up there for 9 bucks. Went and picked ourselves up a desk. So this is gonna be my little office space right here in the corner. Be able to have my monitor there and everything else for all the computer work that I need to do. You know, this is a pretty small room. Let me see if I can, you know, kind of really show with this angle here how small this room is, but it's large enough. This couch came with the place, and so did that lamp and this stuff. I think I'm gonna go ahead and sell this and get a proper couch that comes out a little bit, you know, to make the space a little bit more livable. But then we have kind of some weird rooms in here. So let me turn on the light. There was a deep freezer. It was in the garage, and I decided to go ahead and put it in this hallway here. But, you know, simple hallway, got a closet right here, got some basics. Now this bathroom here is actually really nice because this bathroom is just simple, right? But then you open up your door and bam, you're right in the shop. So you can just step in here, go to the bathroom and be right out. You know, if you got mud on your boots or anything else, this is kind of a nice, it's nice to have a bathroom set up like this. Now we got the Harry Potter bedroom. So we didn't really know what to do with this space because it was, you know, so small. It's kind of like a closet, but it goes back on each side. And this is a 1-bedroom, 840 square foot apartment. So it came with a twin bed. Me and Remy tried sleeping in this for 2 nights and yeah, we got ourselves a proper bed. But we decided to just go ahead and put this bed in here. This is the only spot that I can really think that would be good for guests. You know, we can put some cubbies in over here. They'll have a place to sleep. My thought is that we could have like a curtain or something that goes across here. So that way, you know, if I want to have someone come out and stay for a couple of weeks, they have their own space and they have a bathroom right there. Now they don't have a shower or anything, but at least they have a bedroom and, you know, a place to go to the restroom so they don't, you know, have to feel like they're in our living room or something. Because that was the original idea, is that we'd have a futon here, which this is, and, you know, we'd be able to sleep guests right here. I really like that little room as a secondary bedroom. So now let's take a look at the actual bedroom. Like I said, we're just moving in here. You know, what's funny is that I actually came out here and didn't bring anything except a suitcase with me. So like we haven't moved anything from California yet to here. But this room is a very small room. I think it's like a 10 by 10. And it's crazy, we were able to fit a queen size bed. I mean, we just have the mattress right on the ground right now. Kind of shows you where we are moving into this place. But small room, the mattress fits, you know, queen size bed. I thought that it was gonna be really hard to fit a bed in here, but it turns out that there is plenty of space to walk by. And that's really nice. We got crawl space in here in this little closet. Got another closet over here. We got a stacked washer and dryer, which this is the only thing that I'd probably say is I don't really like. I would love for this washer and dryer unit to be maybe in that bedroom, but just because, you know, if you want to run laundry at night, you know, you got laundry right there and you're sleeping right there. It doesn't really make much sense. But over here, you know, some shelving, sink, bathtub, bathroom. This place is just simple. I think that the people that want to live in a place like this, you're not really thinking too much about the house. The house is secondary to the shop space. And it really is a simple house. There's really not much to it. This little bathroom right here, I'm thinking that a perfect picture right here would be, you know that movie Grown Ups, where they have that guy that's like, you can do it! You can do it! I think that we need to have a little wall poster right there saying, you can do it. It's making me feel like I'm in college or something. So that's about it for the tour of the inside of this place. There really isn't too much to the house. Hey Ruger, did you get stuck out here, buddy? Seriously, if you like this video and you're thinking about buying or building a place like this that may be far out on some remote property, watch the video that I posted last about why I'm moving, because there are so many factors that made it really difficult to live out there and work out there. We were an hour and 15 minutes from near supplies and stuff, and now being able to be close to supplies makes a huge difference. So with all of that said, there is one thing that was particularly important to me. I'm out here in Colorado. I wanted to be close to resources, but I love the public lands here in Colorado. So there is trails in every direction out here. So we got Moab, not too far away. We got the Rocky Mountains on this side. We have a diverse range of environments. We're obviously more in the desert here, but drive right up the road and we're in the Rocky Mountains. We want to cross over another little desert landscape and we are in Moab. This is great because the stuff that I'm building, even though this Husqvarna is not, we're not really building too much on it, we're just adding some accessories. We want to be able to go out and use stuff like this. That's what I love. And we are surrounded by public lands here, which, by the way, if you want to support this channel, we're going to be launching the giveaway on this Husqvarna FE501S. It's a $13,000 dirt bike. It's really nice. We're going to be launching that here as soon as we possibly can. We have some more stuff that's coming into our shop that we're just waiting for it to land here in the US. We got new hats, we got multi-tools, we got knives, we got flashlights, headlamps, we got shirts, stuff like that. But if anything that you buy in our store will get you entered to win this bike. So if you want to be notified when that pops up, all you got to do is there's a link down below. It's our newsletter. So we'll let you know when that giveaway launches. We'll also give you kind of some updates about moving in and any new videos that we have. So make sure that you subscribe down below. And remember that 10% of the proceeds from all of this goes towards protecting our trails, dispersed campsites, and public lands as a whole for those of us that like to travel it and explore it by vehicle. And in our last video, someone said that I should say to like and subscribe and all that. So yeah, like it, subscribe, and see what we end up doing with this property. So now we're gonna go explore a trail in our 1992 Mazda with 250,000 miles. It's a 5 out of 10 on Onyx. So let's see how far up that trail we can get before we start running into some serious issues. Easy peasy.